All right, and good morning, traders. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to you, of course, depending on where you're joining us from in the world. I am, of course, your host, Christopher Guzman. We will be flying, or I will be flying solo this morning. It's just me. I'm afraid Rich will not be joining us today, but that's okay. Hopefully we still have a good show and capture just as many pips. I hope everyone had a wonderful weekend. Today, of course, is Monday, the 22nd of February, 2021. Looks like there's some pretty good opportunities setting up in the market this morning. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right in. Welcome, of course, to the Ultimate Forex Trading Lounge. All right, everybody. So let's go ahead, jump right into it. So first of all, it looks as though the dollar is on a bit of a rally this morning. Okay, and you can see here's the dollar index right here. How long this is going to go, I'm not entirely sure. That's why I'm not jumping on any sort of dollar buying positions just yet, because I'm not so certain that this is really going to last all that long necessarily. I think we've got maybe a little bit more room here. I mean, if I look up on the large time frame, and actually, if I go over to my dollar workspace here, we can see my actual analysis on this. There we go. So I think, 90.60 is going to be, pretty determinative level. And here on the 2-hour time frame, there is some room to the upside. There really is. But we may get a pullback at around the 90.60, if not, then around the 90.75 mark on this dollar index. At which point, if I'm expecting a pullback at that point, then I wouldn't be looking to get in on position myself for dollar strength yet. I could do two things. I could wait for the pullback and then trade the dollar weakness on the pullback, or wait on the pullback. Wait for the pullback to finish and then position myself for dollar strength at that point. All right, because if you think about it, at that point, either way, no matter what, I'm positioning myself in anticipation of the move, and I'm waiting for the next for this next little phase here, sort of like the bridge between where we are currently and where I think we're going to go. Right. So in any event, right, my point on the dollar here is that I just need to wait. I do have some active positions. They're actually on the pound pairs this morning. So let me turn to that here shortly. Let's go over here. Right, okay, so if we come down to Pound Aussie, you can see I've got a pending order on Pound Aussie. I'm not in just yet, but I am looking to get in at about the 78.05 mark. Okay, basically looking to trade the pullback here. We've broken this trend line, this inner trend line here, and right at resistance there, I mean pretty solid resistance at around the 80.24 mark. You can see we had a humongous sell-off, and we sold off right back down to support. Now, you know, realistically, if you look at this, if I were to extend this out a bit, you could actually see that we are overall in a bit of a consolidation range here, right? And even though we've broken out to the downside inside of this consolidation range, you know, this is still technically support, right? We're still in the zone of support, if you like, because you got to think of it, you know, support doesn't just come in one particular level, right? Same with resistance, right? We're not just looking at one particular level specifically, right? It's more of like a zone. And so we're in the vicinity of support. The stochastic RSI gave us a bullish cross in the buy zone here. I mean, squarely in the buy zone, sitting at 18 on the stochastic. So very nicely positioned for a buy there. And then if you go up the time frames as well, you can see the same thing, right? And so I've got a pending order. 78.05 is where I'm looking to get in. So not far off from where we are currently. And I'm only looking to take it to 78.74. So again, you know, looking at the pullback here, we've broken the trend line. I'm now basically anticipating that this is going to pull back, and so I'm trading the pullback. Ultimately, though, you can see, right, I'm looking to sell back down to support, because ultimately here, this is actually a downtrend, right? This Pound Aussie. Okay, ultimately this is a downtrend, and my 2.618 is down here at 73.02. So, you know, I am ultimately targeting that. The other thing here is you can see that we have a downward channel as well. Okay, and so I'm looking, like I say again, you know, I'm looking to ultimately sell this. I'm ultimately bearish on this, but in the short term, there I do see some pretty good bullish opportunity here by way of the pullback, right? So that's, I'm going to look to capitalize on that. So I've got the pending order there. Obviously, I'm not in just yet, but the order is there. I'm anticipating I'll be taking in on that very soon. I am in on a Pound New Zealand. This is an active position right here. You can see my entry on Pound New Zealand was 191.93. Basically, what I've got here is a piercing line. Okay, it's the opposite of a dark cloud cover, right, which is our bearish formation. The piercing line indicates that the market is likely to rally. And so this is the piercing line right in here. I'm trading it. I've gone 10 pips above the close here. And I've played this a little bit more conservative. I could have gone a little bit more aggressive on this. To be honest, I should have gone a little bit more aggressive on this, but I didn't. I went with the high instead of the close. I actually could have gone off the close here. That's okay. Only a difference of a couple of pips here. But I went off the high, which was 91.83. So obviously 10 pips above. 91.93. I've gone 10 pips below for my stop, so 91.36. And I'm going for 1 to 1.5 risk to reward ratio, right? So we're going to take this up to 92.78. And you can see I've just recently been taken in with this candle here. So all's going so far so well, so far so good on Pound New Zealand. I'm also in on Pound CAD, but at break even pretty much. But that's okay. You know, just been taken in just recently, so it's just kind of still working itself out, right? But you can see here with Pound CAD, I also have a bullish indicator. We're in an uptrend here. This was the anticipated 1.618, 1.7736. That was the previous anticipated 1.618. That's obviously been not only hit, it's also been fulfilled, right? I teach you inside of the Ultimate Forex Trading course that our Fibonacci extension levels are fulfillment areas, right? So we're looking to target in those zones. And essentially what we're looking for in order to call it a fulfilled de-extension is it has to have created an official, in this case because it's an uptrend, has to have created an official high at or beyond the price point of the anticipated de-extension. Okay, in a downtrend, obviously the opposite is true. It would have to be a low, right? An official low. And so you can see that's exactly what we got, right? The price point, the target there was 177,362, and we actually got it at 77.51, right? But there's the high right there. We've been on the pullback ever since. Been a pretty solid pullback ever since, and this is the first time that we're really seeing the emergence of a solid formation, right? A solid bullish formation indicating time for a pullback now, basically, right? We had an attempt right here. You can see the market attempted to give us a hammer. Well, not attempted. It did give us a hammer, and the market attempted to rally as a result, but the bears really had something to say about that, right? And so pushed it down to create another low right here. But what's ultimately happened here is that in the process, what it's done is it's solidified support, right? And so with that support, it then gave me an engulfing bull, which is a very solid bullish indicator, and so that's what I'm trading here, right? So that's pound CAD. I've got a pending order on pound yen as well, also to buy. Now, over the weekend, I actually had an open position on pound yen, and it just closed me out on this morning. It just hit my profit target this morning. So my entry point, just to review that trade quickly, just show you that, 146.79 was where I got in. 146.79. So let me adjust this. 146. It was actually 799 to be exact. 146.799 was my entry price, and then my take profit was at 178.25, and my stop was 148, not 178, 148.25, and my stop loss was 147.14, which is just here. I just realized, so the reason my stop loss would have been 147.14 in this case, you might be thinking, well, that's odd, your stop loss is higher than your entry. That's because I did trade management. I actually don't remember where my original stop loss would have been, but I can tell you it would have been, I always go for a minimum of a 1 to 1.5 risk to reward ratio, right? So, but I was able to trade manage and lock in profit. So, once the market got to this point and I was able to move my stop to 147.14, I had no more risk on the trade whatsoever, right? Zero risk on the trade, right? And so I didn't care what happened at that point because no risk. And so I was free to then just let it go. And I did. I held it over the weekend. This morning, as you can see, it's just recently hit my target and taking me out for a profit. Okay, so that was a full, what was that, 148.25. That was a full 146 pips on that one in a couple days time. So that was a good one. Now I'm looking to buy again, though obviously conditions don't really seem too conducive to that. We do have a spinning top right here that I'm watching, and you can see the market's just kind of hanging out inside of that boundary. So I don't really have high expectations for this particular setup, but I do have a pending order here, but I don't have particularly high expectations for this setup, really. And then pound CAD, again, pound CAD just trying to sort itself out, trying to figure out what it wants to do with itself, right? Well, those are my pound pairs. Again, pound Aussie, I do have a pending order there. And then on pound dollar, I'm looking at through a little bit of a different lens, right? Now, pound dollar, we've just recently had this de-extension fulfillment, or should I say the sub-D fulfillment, and we've just broken 1.4, right? Now, for those of you, if anyone watching currently, if you were with me last week, you know that last week I was targeting 1.4, and I was anticipating 1.4 as a good area for targeting. You can see we've now broken that, so that's good. That's definitely good. But I'm basically at this point anticipating a pullback, right? because we've broken, especially because we've broken such a big level, 1.4. I'm ultimately bullish on this to at least 144, and I have been for a long time, even when people were looking at me like I'm crazy. I've been bullish on this for a very long time, and so I still am. Now, having said that, the fact that we've broken 1.4, of course, we're now getting a pullback. That's completely to be anticipated, right? It's also furthered by the fact that the dollar yen is on a rally. Okay, this actually, what we're seeing in terms of pound dollar, doesn't really appear to have much of anything at all to do with the pound itself this morning, and more so to do with the dollar. Now that's kind of typical. The dollar does tend to be a big driver, and so we tend to see a reaction off of this. You can even see, even the indicators are suggesting that the dollar may be oversold already. Although if you go up the time frame, you see there is still a bit of room here to the downside. So I'm not sure how true that is. And then if we go onto the daily time frame, you can definitely see there's definitely some room for pullback, right? We've been on a big rally. There's definitely some room for pullback. Now, ultimately, I'm still very bullish on pound dollar overall. As I mentioned at the top, I'm still looking at this to at least 144.70, and maybe even beyond. But obviously, in the short term, that's a different story. And so in the short term, there may be some selling opportunity here. I'm not sure just how much. I could turn down to the 15-minute and just see if there's anything there. Problem with that is, here on this 15-minute time frame, okay, we can see we're squarely in the sell zone. That's true, but we're kind of at support here, and we're really getting a big reaction at support, right? Look at all the bullishness here that we found at support. So I'm not trusting of a sell on pound dollar just yet, and I think if anything, there's potential for the pound to actually take over, especially as I've actually just been taken in on pound Aussie as well. Okay, so let me actually just go, let me just show you that quick. So just been taken in on pound Aussie as well. Okay, so this is now an active position as well in here. And so my actual entry price was 7805, bang on. I've got a take profit level set at 1.7874 and a stop loss level set at 1.7759. Whoops, 1.77. Let me do that again. 59. There we go. Okay, and you can see there's the cross on the stochastic as well. A really nice cross there. Again, I'm looking for the pullback here, testing that break. So we'll see what happens. Okay, right. So that's the pounds. Let me actually just update this as well. Let me just double check on pound yen as well. Okay, so pound yen. The reason I'm also looking at another buy here, by the way, just last thing I'll say before I move on from the pounds. Reason I'm also looking at a potential buy here, is because I'm chasing after this 2-hour anticipated 144D extension right there, which is sitting at 148.61. Now I've got a target beyond that, but obviously, I'll worry about that when the time comes, right? I'll cross that bridge when we get there. What I can do though, and what I will do, is actually I'll put an alert on that 144 level, just so that I can see it. I'm aware of it, and I'm made aware of it, so draws my attention to this. And okay, so show a pop-up and notify me on the app as well. So to show me on my phone as well. So wherever I am, whatever I'm doing, if I'm not sitting here at my desk, I'll be able to go back and check, right? And so I just want to see how price interacts at that region, right? Do we, as soon as we hit 148.61, do we hit, do we get massive resistance and show signs of massive resistance, or do we just kind of blow through it? we'll see. Like I said, we'll cross the bridge when we get there, right? And with that, like I said, that'll be the last thing I say on the pound. Again, pound dollar, potential for a sell there, but I'm just not very trusting of it. I'm really not very trusting of it. Okay, moving on from pounds. That's enough with pounds. We're going to move on to the euros now. And on the euros, I'll start with the positions I'm actually in, because I'm actually in 2 euro positions at the moment. So the first one is Euro GBP. So let me go ahead and turn to Euro GBP. Okay, and so you can see here's my open position right here. And you can see, it's doing pretty well. I'm up about 30 pips on this at the moment. This was from last week. I want to say Friday I took this. Thursday or Friday, one of the days. But again, like I say, as you can see, it's doing pretty well. As the pound strengthens, provided there's nothing happening on the euro side to sort of counteract that strength, then this trade would almost certainly work out, right? Because if the pound is strengthening, and like I say, there's nothing euro side to sort of counterweight that strength, then that strength is going to drive pound up, and naturally it's going to drive euro GBP, which is the euro traded against it, going to drive it right down, right? And so I'm looking to take this down to 86.15. I've got no concerns with this trade whatsoever. And as you can see, I'm actually in the direction of the trend and everything, right? So, looking basically on part of a C to D completion, as well as just simply scalping candlesticks here and everything else I'm doing, right? But again, no issues there, no worries on this trade for me at this stage. Okay, I'll let you know. But that's Euro GBP, and the other euro pair that I'm currently active in, is Euro CAD. Now, I have suffered a bit of a pullback on Euro CAD, overnight and this morning. The Euro CAD was another one I had placed on Friday, and I've held it over the weekend. Continue to hold it over the weekend. No issues there. But you can see I'm basically chasing after this 2-hour anticipated 2.618 down here at 52.03. I'm going 10 pips in front of it, right? So I'm targeting 52.13. And again, like I say, I've, as you can see, I've sustained a pretty nasty little pullback there, pretty nasty one. But it's not enough for me to start to freak out about the trade or anything like that. I mean, I wouldn't anyway. But hopefully you know what I mean. As you go up the time frames, you can see some conditions that are a bit more favorable to buying here. But as you go down the smaller time frames, you can see that in the short term, we're probably looking at a continued sell. At a minimum, I'm looking for the market to at least test this. And so, again, there's nothing for me to really do here. I can't trade manage this because we've not created a new high. If we do create a new high here, with what we're looking at right now, if this ultimately leaves behind a new high, then I can trade manage off of that high, right? I can go 15 pips off of that high to look to mitigate my risk. And then I just look to continue to do that, right? As the market continues to give me the new highs, I just look to continuously follow the market, mitigating and reducing the risk more and more until eventually there is no more risk, and eventually there's just locked in profit at some point as well, right? Okay, with that being said, that's all I've got in terms of active positions on the euro. So let me go ahead and look at our other euro pairs here and see if there's anything at all available. Euro Aussie, okay, we're floating around in no man's land on the stochastic. We do have a piercing line that occurred. Actually, no, that's more than a piercing line. Now that I look a bit closer, that's actually an engulfing bull right there. And so if anything, what we're seeing here is just a test of that. Overall, we are in the downtrend. And we've got... that's our subs. Let's see where the capitals lie. Okay, so overall, we are in this downtrend, as you can see here. We do have an unfulfilled 38.2% all the way to the upside at 76.33. But, we're so far that's almost irrelevant at this point, right? For now. And then as far as the sub-fibs are concerned, we also have a maximum 23.6. But, I reckon we're due for a bit of a pullback at this point, right? We had a really nice sell-off, beautiful sell-off here. And I'll tell you what, if you caught this little dark cloud cover up here, boy, that's a beautiful move right there. You're pretty happy this morning, right? We're looking at a pullback here. As far as opportunity, I'm not really seeing a convincing case for a buy. So what I'd want to do is wait for a sell. And so I don't really see a convincing case for a sell either, right? So I want to basically wait, okay? And so my bias here is for a sell though, but there's nothing really jumping out at me. Same thing with Euro Kiwi. That's not surprising. Aussie and Kiwi tend to move together. I actually need to do a brand new top down on this. I'll come back to it. But there's nothing in particular. Euro CAD I'm in already. Okay, Euro JPY may very well be giving me a selling opportunity here. This is another one where I need to redo this top down. And as a matter of fact, we'll go ahead and do that now. In fact, yeah, let's go ahead and just do it now, because I was just seeing if there's but there's no other euros to talk about after this. So all right, so I want to go ahead and find the low, and I can see this is the most recent trend right here. Right there's my high. So my job now is to connect all of the major lows that come between this low and that high that I've just pointed out to you, right? So from the low, okay, and I'm just gonna keep moving and adjusting and moving and adjusting. Got that high there, and I just want to see, is this cluster of lows we're going after in here? Yes, it is. Okay, perfect. So that's connected this cluster of lows, which is great, but I can see I've still got a little cluster of lows in here that needs connecting, right? So what I've got to do, of course, is come in again with another trend line and connect the outstanding lows. Right? And I actually do that with this low right here. Okay, and then I'm nearly there, but there's still some lows outstanding, so I want to go ahead and just put these in, and then I can get a better sense of what the heck is going on here, right? And you can see, as I do this, I can see that, at current market, what we're currently doing is attempting to break this innermost trend line right here. We broke it once before, and the market's come back above, right? And so technically speaking, this is right now support right here, right? Technically speaking. But if the market manages to come back below and break below and close below, then that turns back into resistance, okay? And so that's ultimately what I'm looking for there, is for this to come back below and close below and confirm this as resistance. If that's the case, then it's a sell, baby, sell, right? And what I would do is just simply scalp that candlestick formation, going for a 1 to 1.5. As far as the fibs are concerned, though, it does appear that we're pointed the other way. So let's just go ahead and plot those out and see what all our fibs look like. Okay, so from the lowest low to the first major high of consequence, which is this one here, I then get a 61.8 and a 1.618 the extension, like so. I then get a 38.2 and a 1.618. Okay. and then get a 5-0 and another 1.618. Like so. And I'm just going to drop this in and then adjust it later. All right. Make it easier. Okay, so 124.49. I just want to verify, you know, just take that extra second to verify. It's worth it, I promise. Okay, it turns out I was spot on, but it's worth it to just double check, right? Make sure we're getting our levels correct here. Okay, then I get what appears to be either a very deep 61.8 or a very deep 5-0 or a very shallow 1.618. And it's actually, no, it's a deep 5-0. So 5-0, which means, of course, a 1.618 up here, 128.85 is what I'm looking at, 128.85. Okay. So you can see we haven't quite made it there just yet. We're en route to that. And so that's why, you know, overall I'm bullish. But in the short term, again, you know, look, let me rephrase that. Overall, I'm bullish. And in the short term, if this closes above this trend line, then in the short term, I'm bullish too. However, if this breaks below and closes below, then again, I know I've said it a few times now, but just to drive the point home, then again, at that point, I would be bearish, okay, looking for a sell. In terms of the sub-fibs, let me just come in with the sub-fibs now. And so I'm going to go from this low here and plot these sub-fibs, see where that leads us. Okay. And so first, from the low there to the first high of consequence, which is really just there. I mean, this is all... actually, technically, I could go there too. Yeah, I'll go there. And then that's either a 5-0 or a 61.8, but either way, the target is obviously still the same. Yeah, 618. Okay, then I get a 69. Oh no, is that a 78.6? Let's have a look. 122.84, and this is 122.84. Yeah, so that is a 78.6, which means 125.92 is what I'm looking at. 125.929. Okay, so I'm looking for a high to form at or beyond that level, and you can see there it is right there. Perfect. Okay, beautiful. So this is my new fib, A to B. Come through again. We've got we're shy of a 38.2 there as well, so that's interesting because the subs are shy of a 38.2, which means that, you know, ultimately this just makes me even more bullish on this for the longer term, because ultimately, you know, there's a sub 2.618 there as well. Now, you know, we will have a new capital fib by the time that happens, and so, you know, this fib suddenly becomes a little bit less relevant because the capital fib will obviously take over as soon as the market hits 128.85 and gives me a, you know, a high there or better, right? So yeah, that's the game plan with Euro Yen. I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna come back in about an hour's time, and I'll see what happens here. Again, if we close below, then I'm looking for a sell. Okay. Now, I've got to do this. It looks like I've got to do this across the board on these euros. This top down, I mean. So I will do. I'll probably come back to it. I will probably come back to it, to be fair. Just looking to see if there's any opportunity jumping out here before I move on. I don't see anything in particular. Okay. So let me go back to the Euro US dollar and just set it there and leave it there. Okay, so last thing is in terms of the Euro US dollar, obviously we've got an uptrend after seeing that really nice rally that we had for a long time there. We finally did get a good pullback, but we've now, we got a nice little sub crown here. I've got an anticipated sub 1.618 at 123.03, and then a 2-hour anticipated capital 2.618 at 123.91. So again, bullish here overall. And to be honest with you, let's see about the higher time frames. We're breaking that trend line right there. We've broken this inner trend line here. So similar to what we just saw, we're actually seeing it here as well, where we've broken the trend line. If the market manages to close below, because so far it hasn't done that, right? We've only broken, but if it manages to close below, then that confirms a potential selling opportunity. It confirms that conditions are favorable for a sell, right? So I'd be looking for a sell at that point. Okay, so that's the euro. Let's go ahead and have a look at the US dollar. And here again, right, so, a couple things I want to say here. First of all, you can see it pretty clearly, right? Clear as day. Nice little consolidation range here, right? Market range bound, bouncing back and forth between support, resistance, support, resistance, support, resistance, right? And so here, down by support, of course, I'm looking for this to continue rallying, but obviously the market moves in waves. And at the moment, what we're seeing is, we are seeing the dollar rally, but we're actually seeing signs that we may start to see a sell-off here. And that's, of course, natural because I would anticipate a pullback to come in at some point here, right? And so, good bit of price rejection to the upside there. There's more price rejection to the downside, but that shows what this is capable of in terms of, how far it'll come down to test. Price rejection to the upside, though, is a good sign for a sell, and then coupled with the fact that the stochastic is now just giving a bearish cross here in the sell zone, I'm thinking the dollar may very well pull back, okay? And if I look at dollar yen, in dollar yen's case, okay, you can see, the indicators all want dollar yen to pull back, but dollar yen doesn't really want to do it, right? Dollar yen's kind of, just like, leave me alone, I'm doing my own thing, right? And ultimately, I am bullish on this, right? If you look, here's the current fib. I'm actually on the 1 hour currently, but even on the 2 hour, it's the same thing, really. Okay, here's the 2 hour time frame. Here's the sub fib. We have an 86% pullback, and at that 86% pullback, we got an engulfing bull, followed by a nice rally. That's also coupled with a counter trend line break. Right, so, I'm very bullish on this. There's no question. There's a lot going for the bulls here. And I've got an anticipated 1.618 up at 106.87. So just a bit better than 100 pips to the north of where we are current market. And so, again, like I say, I am ultimately bullish on this, but I'm anticipating that this will pull back. And at a minimum, this is, if it is going to pull back, it's likely to just hang out inside of this spinning top range. I'm ultimately very interested in a buy here. So if I can, if I can be patient and disciplined and allow this to sell off and then just hold off on the sidelines until it's finished selling, look to get in at the better price, then I'll buy this all day long, right? Okay, dollar CAD is just the last one. You can see this was a trade from last week. Worked out absolutely beautifully. Though, boy oh boy, did that not look very good for a little while there, right? Huge pullback here. It's something that I talk about often, but it's because it's so true, and it's one of the things that has stuck with me through my entire trading career. One of my mentors when I first started learning to trade, told me that, you need big cojones, right? You need big proverbial cojones to trade. This is what he meant, right? The call was right, albeit if my entry was just ever so slightly early, and it really tested me, tested my resolve. But you can see all's well that ends well. The call was indeed right, and it did ultimately work out. And that's because ultimately on dollar CAD, I am actually bearish on this, right? You can see to the downside, I've got an anticipated sub 1.618 and an anticipated capital 2.618. Okay, here's my capital AB boundary up here. You can see I've got a max 23.6, so naturally I'm targeting the 2.618. And you can see there's only about a 43 pip difference there between the two targets, right? So in other words, there's convergence there between those two targets. And so I am very bearish on this, for the long haul. But I would need, I'm not looking to just place the one trade all the way down. I'm looking to, break it up and take multiple trades. So what I'm actually anticipating right in here, is an evening star to form, okay? I'm not saying we will, right? I don't have a crystal ball. I'm just saying this is what I'm anticipating based on what we see here, right? The actual price action, and where we are in the stochastic. I think there's still a little bit more room for this to play about, but then ultimately it's going to resume selling. And so I'm looking at two things here: counter trend line, right? So I want to see a counter trend line break, would be a good entry opportunity, and an evening star, which again, I'm anticipating will form here, or has a chance to form here, should I say. And to be honest with you, if we got an evening star here, that actually would very likely also mean that we've also broken the counter trend line as well, right? So I'm looking for a sell on dollar CAD. Don't have it yet though. Unlike dollar yen, where I'm more interested in buying to go in line with the waves of the market, with dollar CAD, the opposite is true. For me to be in line with the waves, I would need to be selling. Okay. Next up is Aussie dollar, or as Rich and I like to say, Aussie dollar, dollar, right? And that is chasing after an anticipated 1.618 at 79.22. You can see this was my trade on this from last week. The last trade I had on this from last week. Again, another one that worked out beautifully, although it did test my resolve again, right? It did test me, but you can see ultimately it broke right through resistance there, broke right past 7,800. It's just a beautiful, beautiful move. And it's pulled back a bit, but ultimately I think this is going to make a go for that anticipated 1.618, and then we're going to see a decent sell-off here, right? Stay tuned on that. And then Kiwi dollar, US dollar was another one that I had bought last week. I already had I've already erased this off the chart though, unfortunately. But this was another one that worked out absolutely beautifully last week, right? We got this is a piercing line right here, right? We got a piercing line right at support, so took that right up to resistance. Just absolutely beautiful. Now the market's broken out of resistance, and so is now coming back for the test. But ultimately, we've got a 2.618 target there at 7.396. So here again, I'm more interested in a potential buy than I am in a potential sell, right? So I recognize that it's likely to sell, but I'm gonna wait, right? Because I'm more interested in the buy. So I'll let it sell, which would be great. Let it give me a better price, and then I'm gonna look to buy. Okay. And so that's the rundown on everything. Finally, there goes pound dollar. Okay, like I said, I'm anticipating that it's the bulls that will take charge here, right? And so in terms of there we are on the 15, right? Look at the candles that have printed since I've said that. I said I think the bulls are going to I said I think the pound itself is going to take charge here more so than the dollar, because the dollar's messing about a little bit, and that's exactly what we're starting to see. I mean, exactly what we're starting to see. Now, I actually do have a buying signal now, right now, on the 15-minute time frame. On the 2-hour, obviously, I'd have to wait another 45 minutes. And that obviously is the safer bet. Okay, but early warning, right? Because if we're using the smaller time frame as an early warning system, then the early warning right here is indicating a buy. That's right, it's indicating a buy. And this is likely on pound strength. Now, fundamentally speaking, okay, because obviously we talk a lot about technicals. We spend, in fact, like 99.9% of our time talking about the technicals, and for good reason, right? Technicals are king. I certainly teach you as much inside of the Ultimate Forex Trading course, right? But we do have to pay attention to the fundamentals as well, because the fundamentals, what happens is the fundamentals come out and sort of push the markets along, right? So they push the markets further along to their technical conclusions and maybe help them get there a bit faster, right? And so fundamentally speaking, what's going on fundamentally is of course to do with COVID and the British government announcing positive signs in what we're seeing, positive signs insofar as potentially lifting lockdown. They were talking about the 8th of March, which is just around the corner. And so, that happened over the weekend. It does not surprise me, would not surprise me if we see that translate here, okay? And hence, I'm actually buying the pound this morning pretty much across the board, right? I'm literally putting my money where my mouth is, and I've bought the pound myself. Pound dollar though, I'm not in. Like I say, you can use the 15-minute as an early warning system. I even teach you an entire strategy dedicated to the 15-minute. There's even further, I'll just point this out quick, there's even further justification here. It's counter trend line break as well. Look at that, counter trend line break. So you got a cross out in the field coupled with a candlestick formation. You've got a cross down on the MACD. The only issue here is that we're still technically in the sell zone, okay, because that's what this line right here does. It breaks the market into a buy zone, sell zone. We're still technically inside of the sell zone, technically. But that's a strong signal right there. That's a very strong signal. I would go off of this most recent candle right here. And so the close there, it's 40.10. So I'm going to go 10 pips above to 40.20. Okay. And then 10 pips below the low. It's going to put me at 39.95. Okay, so 25 in risk, which means 37 in reward at a minimum. And so I'd be looking at 4057 for my target, which is just beyond this high, right? The high was 4051. So 6 pips beyond that previous high right there is a good place to be in terms of, projecting the market going to score another point, right? What I like about this is that it's pretty early on in the process here. So the process of going from sell zone to buy zone, the target is pretty early on. I want to see where that target lies on the larger time frame though. 4057. Let's just see what that looks like. 4057. Okay, and it is quite nice actually. It is quite nice. We have on the 2-hour time frame as well. We finally have the stochastic catching up. It's now completely oversold. On the 1 hour, it's already crossing on the 1 hour. Okay, again, 4 hour is overbought, but in the short term, it looks like we're going to get a bit of a push here. It's a possibility. It's a good possibility. So yeah, I could have this set up right here. What I could also do is wait for the close of the candle, because what I'm getting then at that point, if I wait for the close of the candle, if the market were to close looking exactly the way it does right now, printing this candle here, then what I get is, first of all, a close above the B high, which is good. But second, what I get is a piercing line, right? It's a candlestick formation, a bullish candlestick formation. And so I can trade that, right? 39.70. So roughly 40 pips or so. I mean, even if we said, let's put this target, let's put this entry at where the entry is on the 15-minute. Okay, 40.20 and 39.70. That's 50 in risk. So 75 in reward. That's 40.95. So that would actually put me up here, 4095. It's actually not a bad looking setup, to be honest. It's not terrible. I actually rather like it. Okay, I'm going to actually go ahead and set this up, to be fair. I said this was 50 pips in risk, didn't I? So, and this is a pound dollar. So I've been waiting to set up on pound dollar all morning. I'm finally getting the justification I've been waiting for. 3995 for a stop, 4057 for a take profit, and I'm looking at entry buy stop at 4020. Okay, so I've gone ahead and placed that now as well. So, moral of the story here this morning, folks, is pound strength, right? Anticipated pound strength, continued pound strength. That's what I think I'm looking at here for this morning. Outside of that, oh, by the way, I've actually been taken in on pound yen now as well, so I'm now active on pound yen. So let me go ahead and mark this off here. Show you what this actually looks like. Okay, so here again, my entry was 148.20. Profit level at 148.93. And stop loss at 147.71. Wait a minute. I feel like I did that wrong. Hang on a minute. 148. Ah, yeah, because my entry price is all out of whack. There we go. 148.20. I'm like, wait a minute. Something doesn't look right. We're good though. We're all good. Right. So risking 49 pips, going after 73. And there you go. There's my current trade on pound yen. So I'm bullish on the pound across the board. A lot of unfulfilled targets there that it looks like it's potentially going to make a go for. Yeah, across the board, I think the pound looks pretty decent, actually. Okay, and then in terms of the euros a little bit of a different story here. Let's have a look again. Yeah, so a little bit of a different story in terms of the euros. I'm only in on 2 euro positions at the moment, but they're carryovers from last week. So actually what I want to do is see if I can do a bit of trade management on these. EuroCAD, as I mentioned before, I really can't because it hasn't left a new high behind just yet. At the close of this candle, if this turns into a new high, right, then in theory the next candle would obviously theoretically be a pretty decently sized bearish candle to actually give me an evening star there. It's a new entry opportunity as well. But if that leaves behind a new official high, then it's obviously a new lower high, means I can then trade manage at that point and mitigate some of the risk. I obviously won't be able, because of where it is, even with the trade management, it'll just be risk mitigation, not risk elimination, right? There'll still be risk there. But at least I'll be able to take some of that risk off the table. Again, though, nothing I can do just yet. And then in terms of Euro GBP, okay, I can do some trade management on this, actually. What I can do is I can go off of this evening star right here. There's a beautiful evening star with a humongous engulfing bear to finish it off. I mean, just absolutely huge engulfing bear. And so the high here is 8678. So I want to go to 8693. 8693. And as you can see, that's not going to take too much off here, but it's going to take some. So from 8715 down to 8693. Okay, you can see, it does take some risk off the table. So I'm happy with that, even though, again, even though it's not making too much of a difference, I am still happy, right? Less risk is less risk, so I'm good with that. 8693. There we have it. Okay. That's it. Okay, so let me just come over here. So we talked about everything else. We've covered a lot, actually. We've covered a whole lot. Yeah, and then just the pending order right there on pound dollar. Okay, folks. So other than that, I think this would be a good place to go ahead and call it for the morning. I do have an announcement about the Forex Trading Lounge that I did want to make, and that is that we are changing things. We are no longer going to be going from Monday to Thursday anymore. It's just too much of a commitment on both our parts to be able to make it here. We will still be and plus by not doing it every single day, it also frees me up to our paying clients of Kickstart, so I can give some more time and attention on the coaching side of things to my students and my clients. Having said that, though, we are still going to be doing this. It's just we're going to do it every Monday. Okay, so every Monday from 8:30 to 10 a.m. Okay, GMT. And then again, like I say, if you want to join us for additional sessions and learn more, you can come check us out on Facebook, join our Facebook group, check us out at kickstarttrading.com. Obviously, subscribe to the channel so you never miss a new video. We will still be putting out videos as well, so we're only reducing the amount of live sessions that we are committing to on a week-to-week basis. But in terms of content and that, invaluable content, we will be producing that every week, and we will continue to do so. So with that, folks, that's all I wanted to share with you this morning. So the next time I see you will be next Monday. And so before we leave, I just want to leave you with this, and it's a quote from Arthur Schopenhauer, and the quote is that talent hits a target. Sorry, I'm trying to read my own chicken scratch here. Talent hits a target no one else can hit, but genius hits a target that no one else can see. And I leave you on that note, okay? With that being said, everybody, thank you so much for joining me. Thanks so much for watching this back, if you're watching back after the fact. It's been real. This is, of course, the ultimate, the Forex Trading Lounge. And I am your host, Christopher Guzman. Until next time, folks, as always, to your health, wealth, and happiness always, this is Christopher Guzman signing out and saying good day. Take care, everybody, and happy trading. See you soon. Bye-bye.